In this video, I'm going to introduce a few concepts and approaches to floors. So when we think about floors, really want to think about surface finishes. It has everything to do with the durability and feel of the space. And even from these intro videos, or images, I think you can see, how dramatic, going colorful and handmade versus, looking like wood, like that dramatic effect is really, really obvious. So one flooring material that you can consider when you're designing is a concrete slab. A fully poured concrete floor is very common, especially in commercial buildings, but residential as well. And you can either choose to cover that concrete floor or leave it exposed. In these cases, not only is that a concrete floor, but then they've been either dyed, stained, or kind of, like stenciled on, drawn on as well. So, you can start with the concrete floor and then finish it. So, these have been highly polished, they've been stained, and a lot of thought has gone into creating these patterns and colors and textures purely with that concrete floor. So, it's very, very, very durable, very stable floor. With concrete, we can also have the idea of precast concrete. And when you're thinking about designing spaces, the most common use for precast concrete is probably with stairs. Possibly in residential, especially in a contemporary installation, very often commercial. But these, were not built on site, but these were precast and then installed, is what that was meaning. With concrete, we can also have a stamped concrete floor, and this can be interior or exterior. These examples, it's a solid concrete pour that then large stamps are used to push down and create a relief that mimics either, a tile or a stone or something like that, and then it's stained appropriately. So you're getting a certain type of look. But it'll be extremely durable, and this will be, more cost effective in a lot of cases, in the appropriate area. For flooring, we can also have a terrazzo floor. Terrazzo is basically a combination of epoxy, marble chips, glass chips, dust, that's all poured into whatever design you want to create. And so when you think of terrazzo, you'll very commonly see it in academic buildings, see it in schools and libraries. It tends to have that kind of speckled appearance. The one we're seeing here is very colorful and very dramatic. But it's extremely durable, and you can customize it however you want, and it'll last a very, very long time. We can also have stone slabs and tiles on the floor, just like we can put them, on the walls and things. And, that could mean marble, granite, slate, all of those. And when we think about those materials, again, we need to think about, yes, they're durable, and they're very hard surfaces, but they can be damaged and they can be stained. Natural materials are prone to staining, so they do require a certain level of care and sealing. We can put wood, bamboo on the floor, of course, in many different configurations, whether it's plank or a parquet, which we see there in the middle, and that's going to have a wide variety of looks. So you're going to get a lot of design options with a wood or bamboo floor. When we think about a wood floor, you're going to want to keep in mind there's a difference between a true solid wood floor versus an engineered floor. So on the left, we're seeing examples of solid wood, hardwood floors, and kind of what that looks like from the end. So a solid hardwood floor comes in many, many, many varieties. You can get all kinds of varieties at different price points for a wood floor. Something to keep in mind is that a hardwood floor does not handle moisture well. So it's not ideal to put in a bathroom for sure. And it can be fine in a kitchen, but you need to make sure it's finished and sealed nicely. But they are a little bit fragile, right? And they can be scratched and gouged and things like that. But a benefit to a hardwood floor is that can be sanded, stained, refinished many, many times, because every time you sand it, there's just more wood floor, right? So there's a lot to work with there, and so they can last for years. With an engineered wood floor, they're generally less expensive. And they're engineered. They're created in a factory, so they're made of multiple layers. And a benefit to them is they're all very, very rectilinear, and they fit together super nicely. So there's not any of the possible irregularities that you're going to get with a pure wood floor, or that you can get. But a drawback to an engineered wood floor is, well, there's a couple. One is that they tend to look less real. So even though it's wood on the top, they look a little bit, kind of fake, or very often do. And another issue with an engineered floor is that you'll see in that image there, the top layer, that's the only layer that's the true wood. And it's usually about 3/16 of an inch thick. That's not very thick. So if you wanted to sand that down and refinish it if it was damaged, you only get, one or two chances with that before you actually sand directly through that top layer, and then you're down to that sort of plywood underneath. So less expensive, installs really easily, and can handle like moisture situations better and things like that sometimes. But a drawback is they can't be refinished more than once or twice. We can also have bamboo. So bamboo is quite hard. It's 13% harder than maple, 27% harder than northern red oak. They're also naturally resistant to water, to mildew, insects, and it's a really sustainable flooring, because bamboo grows so quickly and abundantly. So bamboo's a really wonderful choice. And it's really just kind of getting people to want to make that switch, because we have ideas of those wood tones that we like and want to use. Laminate is another super common flooring option, and very common in both commercial and residential interiors. And it's really considered an alternative to wood. You can also have laminate that looks like stone, slate, tile, or has abstract patterns on it. So laminate floors mimic, in many cases, the appearance of wood, like you see in this image here, but they're really not wood. Some higher end laminate will actually have a very, very thin piece of wood veneer instead of that printed picture of wood, but it's still really not considered to be a wood floor. So it's again an engineered item with this substrate and a rubber backing layer for sound absorption. And then what you're seeing is, again, that printed picture that looks like wood, or possibly a wood veneer. And then on top of that is a wear layer. The commercial rated products and the higher end products will have a thicker and more durable wear layer. And then, they kind of click lock to install. These are generally lower cost than a real wood floor, both in terms of the product and installation. However, they're not as durable. They can be prone to kind of chipping and peeling, and generally just don't last as long. We can also have resilient flooring. So with resilient flooring, that can mean a lot of things. It could mean things like vinyl, rubber, cork, marmoleum. And so, they're getting into those types of products. So if we're thinking of vinyl, for example, vinyl is great for like kitchens and bathrooms and commercial areas. It's resistant to moisture. It's very durable. It's cheap, super low cost, can be recycled, and it lasts for a very long time. But a problem with vinyl is it's made from ethylene and chlorine, and so we get polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, so there's a lot of off-gassing, and so really being around vinyl isn't particularly good for you. We also have rubber. Rubber, if you want to think of like how do you recognize rubber? Well, there's a lot of options, but the most common is a true rubber floor is that yellow picture there on the right, where it's those little circles. That's a rubber product that you see commercially a lot. It's often black with those little circles, but it comes in many colors. Rubber's great. It's slip resistant. It's shock absorbing, so if you drop something on it, it might not break. If you fall on it, it might not hurt so bad. It has acoustic properties, so it's sound absorbing. It's very durable. It's a sustainable product. It's low maintenance and it's actually low VOC, so it's not off-gassing those chemicals. It can actually be produced from sustainably harvested trees, ideally, right? Or it can be from synthetic petroleum products or recycled products. Then we also have linoleum or marmoleum. So marmoleum's a brand name. It's very readily available and common. So a linoleum product is actually made from linseed oil. It's also comprised of wood flour and some tree resins and cork dust. There's also a little bit of ground limestone in there and then pigments to change the color. So a true natural linoleum floor is hypoallergenic and biodegradable. Something you'll notice with a real linoleum, and a lot of times people will call vinyl linoleum when it is in fact vinyl. But if it's a true linoleum, it will have a peculiar kind of smell to it. Like, it's not that it's off-gassing something so toxic like a vinyl, but it has a notable odor to it, at least when it's new. And then we also have soft flooring options. So we have three delightful kind of dated images here of carpet. Carpet and rugs, where you have that sort of carved marble example, something super kind of intense and, something that looks like it might be in a bowling alley, I don't know. Or this kind of like mauve color. Like it comes in all shapes and sizes and colors and configurations, but it can look good. So here's an example. These are actually commercial and residential carpet tiles from Interface, from their floor line. And so you can get the really beautiful colors and interesting patterns. You can do wall-to-wall carpet installations. We can create area rugs and, walk-off mats and all sorts of super cool things. A carpet, a rug really changes the dynamic of a space, and it helps you create spaces within a space as well. And when you're thinking about carpets and rugs, keep in mind that there's a whole variety of different fibers and styles, and they each have their advantages and disadvantages. For example, we're thinking about, if you want something really durable, you want to, have an area that's going to get some heavy traffic in a house, you might pick something like a Berber, for example, that won't crush, and that can take a little bit of wear and tear. Whereas if you do a shag, for example, it's a very long, kind of straight piece of the yarn there. It's going to require a lot more maintenance, and it won't take the abrasion and, the abuse nearly as well for nearly as long. In terms of materials, there's a lot of materials that different carpets may be made out of. Very common one is polyester. PET. It's stain resistant and soft. And it's actually frequently made from recycled like soda bottles and things like that. Like an ideal scenario there, of course. Nylon is a very, very, very common carpet material. Most carpet is made from petroleum products in general, and nylon and acrylic polypropylene are the most common. It's stain, mildew resistant, fade resistant, lasts a long time. We also have olefin, and olefin fibers are most commonly used in loop carpets, like Berber. So they're stain resistant and durable. They don't take the dye as well as an acrylic, but they're more durable. We can also have carpets and rugs made out of wool. Wool dyes very well. It's super durable. It's actually fire resistant, and it's very dense and luxurious. A wool rug is a wonderful thing, but they're also quite costly generally. We can also have oriental rugs, and those are primarily made of wool. They're either knotted or woven by hand. A true oriental rug, produced in the Middle East and in Asia. And then, other types of flooring that you might think of would be like a jute or sisal or a cheloich. These are getting less soft for sure, but they're not like a hard material. So jute or sisal are these natural fibers that will be woven into very natural looking area rugs generally. And a celloich is an actual woven floor mat, or it can be used in other instances as well, or installed like tiles. It's woven strands. So they're really interesting. So kind of a really unique look and a unique texture as well. We can, of course, also, just find truly interesting, area rugs, and it can be shag or these purely decorative, unique pieces. So you can create a really unique and wonderful space, not only with the hard materials in the room, but these soft materials as well.